Did you know that by 2018 there will be over 200,000 Georgia job openings in science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. But challenging is that the experts predict that a significant shortage of qualified applicants will be available to fill these opportunities. It's a real problem, but one that you can do something about and help to solve right now. The need for tech talent is evident. Schools, business, and even the governor is making moves to make sure we're ready. But what about you? Greetings, everyone, and welcome from the Technology Association of Georgia. It's Friday, July 17, 2015, and this is Tech Talk. I'm your host, Frank Baia. The annual STEM Education Awards, they recognize and honor school programs and companies for their outstanding efforts and achievement in supporting and promoting education in Georgia. In 3 years, TAG and an entire statewide committed community of leaders has recognized more than 100 finalists and winners for their contributions. But there's more. In addition to recognizing the best of the best, funds raised support Georgia's future workforce by providing students with relevant hands-on STEM learning opportunities by uniting corporate resources with leading education initiatives. Are you a STEM thought-leading organization or know one that should be recognized? Join the ranks of McKesson, Equifax, Google, and the Georgia Tech Research Institute, to mention but a few, and share actionable visions and network with your peers at this major Technology Association event of the year. Up to the Tech Talk, we speak with TAG Education Collaborative Executive Director Michael Robertson with a special invitation to you to find out more about the STEM Education Awards, the categories, who's presenting and why, and a special exclusive Tech Talk announcement on this year's prestigious keynote address speaker. It's a Tech Talk on the where, the when, and the why. You should be a part of this state, region, and now nationally recognized award recognition. Listen, and be sure to act now. It all happens here in Atlanta this August 28th. 1. Purpose-driven initiative that will be at the very foundation for Georgia's economy of the future. The 2015 STEM Education Awards, as we Tech Talk with TAG Ed Education Executive Director Michael Robertson. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. TAG TV and TAG Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Michael, welcome to Tech Talk.
Thanks, Frank. Good to talk to you again.
You know, what gets exciting is that it seems like there's a lot of things going on with TAG, no doubt about it. A lot of things going on in the technology industry. Everybody knows that. It's almost become front page news, not page 4, and even in the business section, it's on the home page. And yet one of the underwriting things that a lot of times you don't hear a lot about is the incredible successes that are happening at the TAG Education Collaborative. One of the things I know we want to talk about today, which I think is critically important, is the STEM Education Awards. But it may be interesting to some of our audience to maybe establish a sort of an idea of how it all began and why and how it evolved.
Sure. I think the whole idea of STEM Education Collaborative or TAG Education Collaborative is really more around workforce development. If you look around and you talk to CEOs of technology companies or anybody that's deeply involved in the future of the technology industry, they will tell you that our biggest challenge is having the workforce to be able to compete and to keep up with the opportunities. And so I think the idea of TAG Education Collaborative started, actually we were formed back in 2002 at a time when there was an interest in education. STEM meant something totally different then. And we rebranded in 2008 because of the growth of this thing called STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math. And since that time, it's become almost a cliche, but this is a workforce development issue. We're trying to deal with getting students ready for technology careers.
Well, and you mentioned I think it was 2002 you mentioned that it began. I mean, at that point, you were kind of sort of a John the Baptist in the wilderness kind of a thing. I think there weren't a lot of people all that concerned about workforce development because the marketplace wasn't very strong, and yet you were looking ahead enough to realize what we now know today and almost take for granted, jobs that are going unfilled because the demand for good educated programmers, good educated coders, good educated interns that are capable of filling some of the opportunities are part of almost, I don't want to sound trite, but almost as important as even venture capital and market penetration. If you don't have the good people, you can't move forward. I guess part of that I'm enamored by was the vision to see that so early on, and now the reality of what is happening today. You guys are almost in the right place at the right time, but yet you don't stop. Now we're moving on to what's next. You know, now we're saying, okay, you're getting it. We're doing things. You're cooperating with us as far as supporting the STEM initiatives. But now we want to start moving in yet another level of accomplishment. And I guess where I'm going now is just that. What are you trying to accomplish with the STEM Education Awards?
Well, we started the STEM Education Awards, this is the 4th year, and it started, the idea started after one of the science and technology meetings in Savannah where our COO at the time, Melanie Brandt, was driving back from a meeting and said, do you know what's going on in STEM education in the Savannah area? And I said, yeah, I do, and it's going on everywhere. It's just not very well publicized and not very well recognized. So the whole idea behind the STEM Education Awards is really kind of threefold. One, we wanted to recognize best practices around the state. What are things that other people are doing that are really getting good results? Second of all, we want to celebrate that. Most of these people that are doing programs in education are doing it somewhat in a silo, somewhat on their own, and not getting a lot of recognition, not getting a lot of kudos about the work that they're doing. And then the third thing we're trying to do is bring them together. By bringing them together, they can learn from each other. And some of the neatest parts of the STEM Education Awards are having somebody from Walker County up near Chattanooga meet with somebody from Savannah that are facing the same issues and the same challenges, and sitting down and talking about how are you dealing with that? What are you doing to address that problem? There's a whole lot of learning going on and a whole lot of card exchange going on.
Well, you got avoiding duplication and redundancy. I mean, like you say, being in a silo is really, especially in this age of collaboration where there's so much going on in terms of, say, the evolution of technology is specifically evolving around innovation from a collaborative standpoint, to address some of these issues, you know, independent of each other, just the opportunity to network, the opportunity to hear best practices. It's almost like internet security, to be able to hear the things that worked and the things that didn't work to avoid the problems and be more efficient at what you're trying to accomplish. Let's talk a little bit about how they break down, because, I mean, you mentioned, in a sense, it's the same problems or the same opportunities, and people are unaware of it. You can almost say that across verticals as far as the technology industry is concerned. It's kind of the same thing, only different. They're all dealing with disruption. They're all dealing with high-speed connectivity, cloud apps, the evolution of millennium thinking and the millennium culture, if you will. Does the awards reflect that in terms of the categories? What are the categories?
So let me just say one thing. I think you're absolutely right. If you look at vertical or horizontal markets for that perspective, I think one of the things that TAG has really built a reputation on is bringing those best practices together and bringing the people that are involved together to network. And so the STEM Education Awards are really just an extension of that initiative. As far as the categories are concerned, we have 8 different categories. because, again, what we're trying to recognize are best practices in kind of common areas. So certainly there's one category for each of the levels of K through 12 school. So there's a elementary school category, a middle school, and a high school. Then also kind of continuing that path, there's a post-secondary outreach. So we're looking at what kind of programs do the post-secondary community have that are reaching back into K through 12 to get students interested in STEM careers. We have a category for extracurricular programs. The extracurricular programs are the after-school programs and the weekend programs that are focused on giving students those real-world hands-on experiences to supplement what they're learning in the classroom. There's a corporate outreach perspective. So there are a lot of corporations in Georgia that are reaching back into their school system to help. And we look for that public-private partnership in preparing students for that workforce development initiative. And then the last two categories, one is around STEM Day. It's the best STEM Day activity. You'll remember we promote STEM Day, had over 600,000 students participate in May of this year.
Awesome.
And the idea behind the STEM Day activity is really looking for the creativity of that teacher or that program that does something unique that really engages their students. And then the last category is called STEM Certified School Outreach. Georgia has an initiative to certify certain K through 12 schools as STEM schools. It's a very rigorous process. We have a goal to get 300 schools certified in the state. We currently have 18 and more to come this year. So one of the criteria of the STEM certified school is not only passing your own organization or your own school through the gauntlet, but then once you're through, reaching back and helping other schools and other STEM programs to become STEM certified. So we wanted to recognize those folks that were doing a great job of helping to teach others how to become STEM certified.
Well, you use the word celebration. I think when you bring together all of those groups, just from the category standpoint of the people who would be nominated and the award recognition that they'll receive. But, the thing about it, and you know this because you've lived it for so long, in terms of the academic community is so purpose-driven. Everybody talks about now the new job market is all about finding a job where you're filling your purpose. And here's a group of people who have dedicated their lives and committed themselves passionately to education and to helping others, if you will, from a purpose standpoint. And here's a case where you're gathering them all up all at one place to celebrate their successes and, as you mentioned, to be able to share in best practices, kind of in some cases misery index, and talk about the things that haven't worked, but also more important to talk about the successes. And I think that's as much an important part of the process as anything.
Let me tell you a quick story. Last year, the last couple of years, we've held this event in Savannah, and it's a very long day. It starts at noon. It runs through a dinner gala program, and so end of the day, and I'm walking back to the hotel, and I'm just beat, and I pass this group of that had been at the program, and they were from 3 different schools. One of the schools had won, and they were going out on the town. They were going to River Street to celebrate, and the principal of the team that won stopped me, and he said, I just really want to thank you. Just having the opportunity to bring my team here and to meet these other people was worth every ounce of it. For us to get a little recognition and to be able to take that back to our community is icing on the cake.
To know you're making a difference, and you're part of a bigger process is making even a bigger difference. That's an incredible indirect benefit that I think a lot of our listeners are going to really take back and go, man, that is really, really important. That is thanks for sharing that. I think that's really interesting that you experienced that. One of the things I think we'd be remiss in not going into, there's actually presentations. I mean, who is presenting, and maybe go into why specifically you've got them involved.
Well, now, Frank, depending on when this airs, I may be letting the cat out of the bag, but I'm going to make the announcement.
Wait a minute, a Tech Talk exclusive. Alert.
So our lunchtime keynote speaker is our governor, Nathan Deal, who has been such a strong proponent of STEM education. We're so excited.
What a great validation for you and for everything you guys are doing at the Collaborative and for the event. That's absolutely out of the park.
Isn't that great?
That's great.
And then we have a couple of different panel discussions, one around the workforce development side, one around different programs that support what's going on in the classroom from an extracurricular perspective. And then we'll have a program where we bring back some folks that interned 2, 4, 5, 8 years ago to talk about the impact of internship programs and
now the retired men
and after-school programs.
Some of those interns the success they've enjoyed has been outright amazing, and we talked about it the last time you and I were together on Tech Talk about even being recognized in competitive recognition that TAG puts on for private sectors, where the intern went on and started their own business. We're quickly running out of time, and one thing I want to make sure our audience is aware of, give us the particulars. You mentioned Savannah, but give us the when and where, and how, because we're interested, we want to participate. How do we participate? And maybe even how do we register if we want to make sure that we're early in?
So the first thing we need are judges. If anyone wants to see kind of what's going on in Georgia and what some of the best practices are, we've had over 188 nominations in those 8 categories, and we need folks to help us judge and narrow those down. So anyone that's interested in judging can contact me through TAG. But as for the event is August 28th. It starts at noon with the program with Governor Deal, moves on to the panel discussions that we talked about, and then leads to an evening gala. Just before the gala, we have a reception where each of the teams has a table, and they get to talk about their efforts and their programs and the pluses and the minuses. And then our evening keynote speaker, we're equally excited, is Miss Shan Cooper. Shan is the Vice President and General Manager of the Lockheed Martin facility in Marietta. She is a very strong proponent of TAG education. She has a wonderful story to tell about her work in coming up through the ranks as a minority female into a leadership position in within a company like Lockheed Martin. And then she has a lot to say about the challenge that they have and that all of us have around an aging workforce and the need to fill that with new blood, new talent.
And then we don't want to forget the post-event celebration on River Street. Is that?
It's in Atlanta this year. It's in Atlanta.
Oh, it's in Atlanta. Well, that's good. I didn't even realize that.
Sorry, the event is at the Carlos Hellenic Center on Claremont Road, and again, it's from noon until we normally get done about 8:30.
Well, as always, Michael, it's great to have you on Tech Talk. It almost begins to be maybe a little bit like hype, but the reality of it is I'm always and our members are too, in respect and in awe of what you've accomplished over the period of time that you've been there. This event is just an example. I mean, where it started and where it is today and what you're talking about. This sounds like, without question, the biggest and the best that you've ever put on, and rightfully so. Congratulations and much success on the new event. We'll look forward to talking about it after it. But thank you for taking time from your busy schedule, really, to join us for a few minutes today on Tech Talk to talk about it.
Well, Frank, I hope folks will come out and join us. It is very enheartening to see the creativity, the innovation that's going on in preparing our students for these STEM careers of the future. And thanks again for the opportunity to be here and share it.